Welcome everybody to this webinar today on the Accelerating Research Translation or ART program 2025. This is a program out of the Technology Innovation and Partnerships Directorate at NSF, along with collaboration with everybody else in the NSF, National Science Foundation. My name is Pradeep Phule. I'm the lead program director, and I'm pleased to have you introduce Dr. Hina Mehta. She is my co-lead for the ART program. The ART program itself, what we are going to do in this webinar today is that we will provide an overview of the ART program, and Dr. Arvind Gyanchandani, who is the AD for the Technology, Innovation and Partnerships Directorate, will frame this program with the bigger picture of other programs in the context of other programs that are being led at NSF, and especially the TIP, Technology, Innovation and Partnerships Directorate. Then we will come to you with some thoughts on goals and vision for the program, as well as what kinds of activities the ART program support, the notion or the concept of research translation readiness level, followed by some description of what is the program structure and what are the funding levels associated with different items in this program. And also we will cover some aspects of eligibility and review criteria. We are also looking for highly qualified reviewers for ART program, and even though you may be applying for this program, you may be able to still be a reviewer for that. So we encourage you to look at that opportunity as well. Finally, let me also point out that whatever we present here in this webinar is superseded by what's in the solicitation itself, as well as what's in the NSF PAPPG guidelines, as well as any other guidance that you may see on the NSF website when you are ready to submit your proposal. So with that, first I'm going to invite Dr. Arvind Gyanchandani, who is the Assistant Director and has provided tremendous leadership for the Technology, Innovation and Partnerships Directorate, as well as very strong support of the ART program. Dr. Gyanchandani will present some opening remarks to frame the ART program in the context of the bigger picture associated with TIP and the National Science Foundation. So Arvind, I hand it over to you.
My name is Arvind Gyanchandani, and I have the pleasure and the honor of serving as the National Science Foundation's Assistant Director for Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships, our newest directorate, TIP, that we stood up just a few years ago. I am pleased to be with you today, and I am really delighted to be able to say a few words at the outset of this webinar today about our Accelerating Research Translation, or ART, program. Before I start, let me take just a moment to thank you all for taking the time out from your busy schedules and for your interest in this particular initiative. We are super excited about this program, as I hope you'll hear me and my colleagues from across TIP describe in just a few minutes, and I hope you will be too as you hear more about this program as well. As many of you know, the Directorate for Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships, or TIP, is something that the National Science Foundation stood up a few years ago. It is our first and newest directorate in more than 30 years. And we have a particular focus on trying to be able to accelerate technology to impact for the betterment of the nation's competitiveness and security as well. As a matter of fact, just to provide a little bit of context in terms of how the ART program fits into the equation, the TIP Directorate comprises three key pillars. We have a focus on trying to be able to accelerate regional innovation and economic development in different parts of the country. Some of you may have heard, for instance, of our program, the Regional Innovation Engines, or the regionalization of the Convergence Accelerator as well. Second, we are focused on trying to accelerate the development, translation, the progression of technology to the market and to society more generally as well. We have programs like the Small Business Innovation Research, or SBIR program, as well as newer efforts that really focus in on specific technology areas or sub-areas and try to drive forward progress in those arenas as well. And then finally, our third pillar is focused on workforce development. How do we accelerate the offerings of workforce training to talent all across the country? maybe in classrooms, but maybe also talent that's in the workforce today, looking to do a pivot into a high technology or key technology area. And examples of that include our Excellent program, or experiential learning for emerging and novel technologies, through which we offer internships and apprenticeships that allow folks to really better prepare themselves and better even inspire themselves to consider careers in artificial intelligence or biotechnology or quantum information science and beyond. Stretched across these three pillars are two sort of foundational building blocks. One is about partnerships. How do we build the partnerships across sectors, bringing together not just academia, but private industry, nonprofits, state and local governments, tribal communities, and beyond, to really put the focus on some of the pressing challenges that we face today and use those as the basis to drive new technologies as we move forward. And secondly, capacity building. How do we create the opportunity space for all Americans to be able to engage in the technology and innovation ecosystems that we are trying to cultivate all across this country? And it is in that context, capacity building, that the ART program really fits in. Although I'm really excited about this program in the sense that it spans all three of those pillars. It is about trying to afford regional innovation through the development of new technologies and the translation of new technologies, really sparking an ecosystem that allows us to be able to do that. And along the way, also helping our talent base at institutions of higher education become prepared in this focus around accelerating technology into impact and into societal and economic gains as well. Some of you know the ART program is something that we launched a few years back as well. We're really proud of the initial cohort of 18 awardees that we funded more than a year ago, an investment of over $100 million, largely led by the TIP directorate, but also including the participation of colleagues from all across NSF, all of the other research and education directorates at the foundation as well. And having run a cohort now, we have some lessons that we've learned from that experience. And so we're excited today to be able to announce the launch of what we are affectionately calling ART 2.0, or the second generation of the ART program. We are trying to learn from the lessons of the first round, the things that worked well, maybe some things that we felt like we could have done differently or done even more effectively. And we're really, through ART 2.0, trying to design an initiative that meets institutions where they are. We know that some of you are further along, for example, in your journey toward translational research. And so while we have retained the original focus of the program, we have also aimed to expand it to allow for institutions of higher education at all different ends of the spectrum of research, translation, readiness, and capacity to be able to potentially engage in the ART program and to be able to benefit from this initiative as we move forward. I also want to stress that ART 2.0 is directly responsive to recent legislation that authorized the establishment of the TIP directorate and that frankly called for the ART program itself by a different name in the legislation, and that I know some of you had a hand in helping to shape and cultivate as well. We think that this particular offering of ART 2.0, really meets every aspect of Section 10391 of the And Science Act that was passed a few years back, that calls out the need for planning and capacity building at institutions of higher education to double down on research translation and the ability to be able to bring new discoveries and innovations into the market space as well. My program officers are going to stress a lot about the specific requirements, goals, requirements, and proposal preparation instructions associated with the ART program in just a moment. But I want to highlight 2 or 3 key points that are near and dear to all of our hearts, and that I want to make sure we leave you all with sort of a focus on as you listen to this webinar and then think about potential proposals in response to this webinar and in response to this funding opportunity. First, the ART program is really seeking proposals that involve the broad cross-section of institutional leadership and beyond at an institution of higher education. That might mean institutional leadership. It might mean some of the research translation programs that exist within an institution, including institutes and centers. It might mean existing technology transfer offices or individuals who are coalescing around a technology transfer office. It might mean units that are responsible for managing research intellectual property, entrepreneurial training teams, and the like. And of course, it has to involve researchers from many of the scientific, technological, and engineering fields supported by an institution of higher education, working in collaboration with one or more of the groups that I just named. And so I think it's really important as you think about a proposal in response to the ART program that you think about how to pull together that broad cross-section of perspectives and expertise to help shape and give rise to a particular proposal as well. The second thing that I would say is, as I stressed at the outset, and as you'll hear our program officers stress in just a few minutes, we are really, with this edition of ART, trying to provide the base that allows for folks from varying stages of capacity and readiness for research translation to be able to become a part of the ART initiative and the investment that we are laying out here. We know, for instance, that there is really no one measure or combination of measures that can be used to describe the capacity of research translation readiness, if you will. We know there are technology readiness levels, translation readiness levels, but technology readiness levels, but what we don't have as effectively are translation readiness levels. We try in the funding opportunity, and you'll hear our program officers talk about this as well, to offer some analogs of what could be indicators of technology readiness across a variety of different levels. And I want to stress that this is not just about patents and licenses and disclosures thereof, but it can also stretch into the partnerships that a university has with the surrounding community, with local and state government, with philanthropy, with private industry, and so forth. It might also stretch into the sort of entrepreneurial and innovation education and training opportunities that are afforded for the talent going through a particular university. So we're really, as you, I hope, hear through this webinar and see in this solicitation, trying to think about moving toward the designation of various research translation readiness levels. And we certainly welcome your input and your support in helping to shape that as we think about this next cohort of ART and future cohorts of ART awardees as well. And related to that, a third point that I want to stress is that technology translation, I think we all know and recognize and appreciate, takes on many form factors. Yes, we are interested in trying to be able to see technology that leads to new deep tech startups that we can help support and cultivate that may lead to future acquisitions or mergers and so forth. But we're also interested in thinking about other forms of impact through this program as well. Technology that finds its way into cities and communities across this country. Technology that really benefits the user population, maybe not through a startup, but maybe through other means as well. And so I would encourage you all to think about those various forms of translation and recognize that an institution may be really strong and effective at one, but may have potential room to grow in other areas of those form factors that I just laid out as examples as well. So with that, I really hope you all will consider this program as a valuable resource for building technology translation capacity throughout the country. We, I think, all recognize just how critical it is to be effective at not just discovering and unlocking new technologies, but really accelerating those technologies into the market space and into society more generally. And so how we facilitate technology translation and development and how we create the space to be able to do that is ultimately how we ensure the nation's competitiveness, the nation's security, and that includes economic development, job creation in every corner of this country as well. Before I close, I would be remiss if I did not thank a few of my colleagues from across NSF. I want to especially acknowledge Pradeep and Hina, who are sort of guiding this initiative, who are leading this initiative. It is their thought leadership, it is their vision that is making this initiative a possibility, and the expansion that I've talked about today a reality as well. So my immense gratitude to Pradeep and Hina for all of their efforts. And then, as I mentioned, I also want to thank all of our colleagues from across NSF. Every directorate, plus the Office of Integrative Activities, OIA, is involved in this particular initiative this year. And so I want to thank our colleagues, the leadership and the program staff who are making this possible, both by bringing resources to the table, but even more importantly, bringing their expertise and perspectives from various disciplinary areas to the table as well. So with that, thank you all again very much for taking the time to participate and listen to this webinar today. I hope it is helpful and instructive, and I want to hand the reins back over to Pradeep and Hina to take things away from here. Thank you all very much.
For framing this ART program in the bigger picture with respect to TIP. And again, we are very grateful for your leadership along with Gracie Narcho and many others in the TIP directorate. So for the ART program, I will also point out that we have an NSF-wide working group. So what you see here are different names of different people that are part of the art working group that are on this solicitation. But I would also request you respectfully to please do not contact these program directors directly. Instead, if you have any questions or if you want some of the things clarified, please send an email to art@nsf.gov. That is the kind of unique contact for the art program, and we will make sure that your questions are answered as best as we can. Thank you. So moving on here, one of the first things I would like all of you to note is that the art program itself, accelerating research translation, is agnostic in terms of what kinds of disciplines are supported. So starting with biological sciences, engineering, mathematical and physical sciences, virtually all the different topics that are covered across the entire National Science Foundation are part of what we would take as some of the activities in the art program. So art program is not focused on any one particular discipline. So this is important for you to make a note of, right? So in the very big picture, the vision for art, really it's a capacity building program. What does that mean? What we want to see is that all academic institutes of higher education throughout the country, we want them to take what has already been funded through NSF or through other agencies and the wealth of knowledge, the basic science knowledge, the discoveries that are happening across all campuses. We want you and the entire institution to take up this opportunity to use the art program as a catalyst to really scale research translation so that we can have an impact collectively and increase our economic competitiveness, increase our innovative spirit. So those are the kinds of things we are looking at through the art program. So art program is really meant to be a catalyst to propel the research translation across the institutes of higher education everywhere in the United States. The second thing we're looking at art is it is also a platform. It is an opportunity. It's a platform that creates an opportunity to train our undergraduate students, graduate students, postdoctoral researchers, and faculty members to really engage in research translation opportunities and really push for entrepreneurship, innovation, and technology transfer for economic impact throughout our nation. And this is also an opportunity for people to explore career opportunities that are a very wider range in addition to what we have already seen in terms of academic opportunities. So those are the kind of vision and the goals for the art program. So if you look at the overall research translation landscape today, in most cases, with the exception of few universities, what we see are research translation is usually driven by some faculty, few faculty individually, and the overall levels of research translation tend to be relatively low compared to the volume of research that is taking place on many campuses. And so we end up with these disconnected islands of translation. And our hope and our vision for art is that with the program, the resources that are in place, that we will have a interconnected community of translation practitioners as a result of the art program. So we are really looking to have this program to serve as a resource, serve as a catalyst that will really push for research translation, and research translation will be seen as an organic, natural next step that really leverages what the basic research activities have been and continue to be on different campuses. So that is kind of the idea in terms of what the art program really stands for and what is the spirit of the art program. So again, I want to come back a little bit and introduce this notion of what we call as research translation readiness levels. right? So RTRL. So when you look at an academic institution, if you see academic institutions that are relatively smaller, that have a relatively lower volume of research, but nonetheless, there is innovation opportunity everywhere and there is talent for innovating everywhere across the United States. But at these smaller institutions, perhaps there are smaller pockets of innovation, but there is not enough activity to justify the existence of a tech transfer office or dedicated resource that are aimed at entrepreneurship, tech transfer. So overall, some of these institutions, the activity in terms of patenting, licensing, and entrepreneurship activities, whether they result in economic or other types of impacts, those tend to be maybe on the lower side. So that's what we consider as low RTRL, low research translation readiness level. Then if you come to universities, institutes of higher education, where the volume of research is substantial, it may be relatively high, but still the research translation activity level is low, relatively not as high compared to the volume of research. So, but nonetheless, some of these institutions do have a technology transfer office. There is some activity when it comes to entrepreneurship, technology transfer. Some of these institutions have relatively clear intellectual property or IP management, creation of IP, managing it, licensing, those sorts of activities. There are opportunities for transitioning that IP into practice through licensing, through startups. So there is some activity. So these institutions are what we would consider as medium RTRL in the context of this solicitation. Then if you look at to the right side, where we say high RTRL, right? So these institutions are very mature. They have very strong, very robust innovation and research ecosystem, very high volume of research. And that high volume of research is also accompanied by very high levels of research translation as evidenced by number of licenses, number of startups, number of industry university interactions on campus, and many other factors. There is no single metric that would reflect the overall research translation readiness level. But that is in the context of this solicitation, it is important for all of you to appreciate the notion of the concept of research translation readiness levels. Again, some institutes are going to be on the low side, some are medium, and then some are what we would consider as high research translation readiness levels. So what we are supporting under ART is really three different things. As I said in the beginning, this is a capacity building program. The whole idea is we want all the institutions to build their capacity for research translation. That is kind of strengthening that capacity if there is capacity already existing. That is kind of the basic goal for ART. And those are the activities we would support as part of the ART initiative. And then we also want education and training. That means we are also looking for developing the kinds of resources that are necessary to increase the effectiveness of the activities that lead to research translation. So development of those education and training materials that would be available to faculty, undergraduate students, graduate students, and postdoctoral researchers. That is the second piece for ART. And then research translation will be itself performed or will be undertaken under many activities related to ART. For example, some of the seed translational research projects that would be conducted under the auspices of this program. So those are the kind of three major streams of activities that we expect the ART program to be supporting. So to give you a kind of bigger picture of this particular funding opportunity, overall, we expect up to a total of $175 million anticipated funding amount. Again, we do not know for sure, but this is the anticipated amount. And then we have this program, ART program, as you will hear the details soon, It is structured around 5 different pillars, or what we are calling as 5 different tracks. So track 1, which is called as ACT, which is really aimed at institutions of higher education that have a low research translation readiness level. We expect, this track is called ACT. We expect about up to 20 awards under this program. Then the second track, what we are calling as GROW, this is really if you look at the previous solicitation that we released and funded 18 teams last year, the GROW track is essentially where we started last year. So if you want to take a look at that solicitation as well, that might be helpful. And then track 2 is really aimed at institutions that have a medium research translation readiness level. That means these institutions have a high volume of research, but a relatively low level of research translation. That's what is the track 2 that is aimed at. And then tracks 3, 4, and 5 are aimed at institutions of higher education that have a high research translation readiness level. Track 3, we expect known as resource. We expect to make up to 5 awards, and this is really aimed at creating what I would call as virtual centers that would provide technology transfer, entrepreneurship, and any other related support to many institutions within a region. But that support will be provided by an institution that has an organization that has the high research translation readiness level, or they have very high expertise as to how to make it happen. Track 4 is about education and training materials. How do we create those? And track 5, we expect up to 2 awards under track 5, which would be coordinating all these activities that would be taking place under track 1, track 2, track 3, and track 4. That is how the program is structured. Once again, I will emphasize that the amounts and the number of awards suggested here are all subject to availability of funding. All right. So with that, now I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Dr. Hina Mehta. She will take you through the details of each of these tracks and what those mean in terms of research translation readiness level and the objective of each track. So over to you, Hina.
Thank you, Pradeep, for a great overview on the goal and vision of ART Award. And now I'm going to walk everyone through the next slides, which will cover each individual tracks, what it is aimed for, and what is the funding amount. So here is the track 1, what we call ACT, Accelerating Technology Transfer. This track is aimed at the Institute of Higher Education that have low to medium level of total overall research. And these are the institutions that may have or may not have tech transfer function as such, but they are really looking and they desire to build their develop and build their pipeline of innovations and entrepreneurship related activity. So this track is ideal for those kind of institutions. And ideal applicant will be an Institute of Higher Education. Track 1 award is expected up to be total of $3 million for total of 3 years. Track 2, which we call GROW, Growing Capacity for Research Translation. And as Pradeep mentioned earlier, this track is exactly similar as the last year's solicitation and awardees. So these are the institutions of higher education that have high level of research. However, they may have a desire to grow their research translational activity because they may be between low to medium RTRL level. And so this track will be aimed at funding those kind of institutions, and that funding can be budgeted up to $6 million for 4 years of the time frame. Track 3, as we called resource, technology transfer resource centers. The goal for this track is to create a regional technology transfer network in a region that is serving multiple institutes of higher education. And the applicant for this track could be an IHE or a nonprofit with a strongly, demonstrated experience in research translational activity, entrepreneurship related activity, and again, growing the regional capacity in this kind of a activities. And the beneficiaries for this track through this resource center, what again Pradeep had referred and alluded to, that this resource centers could be providing a virtual tech transfer services in the region, and the beneficiaries could be any institute of higher education where there is a low to medium RTRL level. And these IHEs, beneficiary IHEs, could be an art awardee, or they may not have received any art award. They can also benefit from these services. For example, that could be any community college. But the idea is that the network of this resource center will build a network and grow that region and support all of the Institute of Higher Education in that region so that they can advance towards their goal of increasing their RTRL. Track 3 award is expected up to be $8 million for 4 years. Track 4, as we call it, a track for education and training. The ideal applicant for this track would be in either in Institute of Higher Education or a nonprofit that have a demonstrated combination of experience in research translation, entrepreneurship, product development, commercialization, startup related activities, industry partnerships. And so these are the kind of organizations that we would think that they are into the high RTRL bucket because they have all this demonstrated experience. And the beneficiary for this track, whom this lead organization or this education and training awardee eventually will serve, are those beneficiaries are going to be IHEs with low to medium RTRL. For example, as you saw track 1, where they may need more help towards not only building their capacity, but they also could benefit from this kind of a training on how to build that capacity. So this track awardee will provide all those kind of education and training. Track 4 award is expected up to be total of $3 million for 3 years. Track 5, what we call CART. Coordinating, accelerating research translation. This track will mainly support the creation of a national hub that will facilitate the creation of a platform to coordinate, engage, mentor, and support rest of all of the art track awardees. Basically, these are the organizations, could be an IHE or could be a nonprofit. But once again, like track 4, this applicant of this track needs to show a demonstrated strong research translational ecosystem, entrepreneurial education and training, tech transfer, industry partnerships, all those kind of experience they need to have in order to qualify for this track. Track 5 award are expected up to a total of $3 million for 5 years. As we saw earlier that how individual tracks and what we meant with RTRL. And this slide kind of shows that what we mean, which track would align with which RTRL. So this is more kind of an visual demonstration of that. So ideally, track 1 applicant are currently at low RTRL, but with an art award, they can move in the direction of medium RTRL. And similarly, track 2 awardees who are right now at low to medium will move towards a high RTRL direction. So we expect that art funding is acting as a catalyst to help institutions move in the direction from where they are and where they want to be in next few years. Now coming to the eligibility criteria. Who can submit proposal, who can serve on the team. So here is in very short, in nutshell, it summarizes who can submit the proposal. So keep in mind that track 1 and track 2 is open to only Institute of Higher Educations, whereas track 3, 4, and 5, the applicant can be an IHE or it can be a nonprofit. However, this nonprofit needs to be working in the field of research translation, entrepreneurship, industry partnerships, and things like that. Who can serve on the proposal team? We expect that PI is a member of a senior leadership team at the proposing organization. And we also encourage that a representative of Technology Transfer Office to at least be a co-PI on this proposal. And there are a limit on the number of proposals that an organization can submit to each track. For track 1 and 2, you can only submit one proposal per track. You cannot submit a proposal to both track 1 and 2 simultaneously. It has to be either track 1 or track 2. However, for track 3, 4, and 5, an eligible organization can submit one proposal per track. It is up to you as an organization to make that determination that what are your strengths? Where do you fit in terms of your research volume? Where do you fit in terms of your RTRL, and make that decision that which track will be well suited for your application. And also keep in mind that track 1 and 2 are not eligible to submit proposal to track 3, 4, and 5, and vice versa. Now coming to what we are looking into your proposal. So this is like an overall guideline, but definitely refer the solicitation for very specific details in each category. But overall, we are looking at what is the organization's vision, goal, and strategy that will help them position and help them grow, build their research translational capacity. What are the opportunities and gaps they have identified that they want to fulfill with this art funding? And with the art funding, having done all these activities, what are the outcomes they are looking for? And does that outcomes align with the art's vision and mission? Sustainability plan. How the organization plans to sustain themselves beyond the art funding, because as we keep using this word that art funding is a catalyst, but however we wish that these activities will continue and the organization will continue to grow beyond the art funding is over. What is the evaluation plan in place? How would you evaluate that you are making that progress? What are those metrics that you will hold yourself accountable to make sure that you are moving in the right direction as the award moves forward? And the timeline of activities that will be accomplished during this funding period. Along with all these different criteria and categories that a proposal should address, there are some of the supplementary documents that we require you to submit. And these are mandatory documents, and they are described in detail in the solicitation. So please ensure that you look at those requirements very carefully and submit those documents. Otherwise, the application would be deemed incomplete. How each proposal will be evaluated. So there are some track specific criteria that we will be looking at. For track 1 and 2, track 1 is act and track 2 is grow. We want to see that how are you defining as an organization that how would you increase your RTRL over the course of award? Because the goal of track 1 and 2 is increase your research translational capability, build that capacity and infrastructure. And how are you going to do that beyond the award duration? So those are the very specific criteria we will be looking at. For track 3, whether the proposing organization makes a compelling case that they are capable to be a lead organization? Do they have demonstrated experience to become that regional network center that can provide all the support services, strategic guidance, as well as build capacity throughout the region beyond their own institution? So that's a criteria we will be specifically looking for track 3. Track 4, applicant should demonstrate that they have a clear plan for developing and disseminating the education material that serves this broad category of stakeholders, undergrad, grad, postdocs, as well as faculty around the research translation and entrepreneurship activity. For track 5, given that track 5 applicant and awardee are going to be the more like a platform, national level platform and the center to coordinate all the activities throughout the remaining tracks, we expect that they have a demonstrated activities already, as well as they have a plan how they will coordinate all these activities around entrepreneurship, technology transfer, and development of education and training to track 1, 3, and 4. In addition to very track specific criteria, these are the very common criteria that will all the tracks will be evaluated against. Primarily whether the applicant or the lead organization for this proposal, are they showing a strong alignment to the track they are applying to? So make sure again that you think carefully where your organization stands in terms of research as well as RTRL, and are you applying to the right track? So that alignment is very important. And also how this art program will support all these tracks and how, the goals they have identified for each track, what they will accomplish at the end of the award or beyond the award. So again, all these criteria are given in in-depth detail in the solicitation. So please refer solicitation for more details. And as we move forward with the receiving proposals, we are asking your help here again to become a reviewer. We are looking for a very qualified individuals who have experience in technology transfer, economic development, entrepreneurship. You could be from an industry who's working with an IHE. So these are the kind of individuals we are looking for to become a reviewer. Here is a QR code. You can scan it, or you can go to this tiny URL to look for the reviewer interest survey form. And we would really love to have you as a reviewer. And as we had mentioned earlier, if you are going to be an applicant to one track, you can still be a reviewer for another track. So please come forward, don't hesitate, and become a reviewer. With that, I'll hand over to Pradeep to conclude our presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, Hina. So again, thanks everybody for joining us today, and we are very happy to have you here on board listening to our presentation, as well as we expect high quality proposals coming to us. We also, as Hina mentioned, whether you're a faculty member, whether you're from industry, whether you're from nonprofit, we definitely want to see a range of expertise on our review panel. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be delighted if you did. So here is a summary for you with respect to the art program itself, right? So once again, we have this idea or the notion of RTRL, Research Translation Readiness Level. As Hina pointed out multiple times, that it is important that you recognize and decide for yourself that is, which track is right for your organization, which track is right for your institute of higher education. Is it track 1 or is it track 2? We recognize there may be some gray areas, but at the end of the day, it's your decision and making sure that you have the best alignment with respect to which track you are submitting to. Track 1 is again meant for institutes of higher education that have a low RTRL, relatively low volume of research, but innovation opportunities exist. And there is the opportunity to move up to scale and grow those that capacity for research translation. Track 2, which is labeled here as grow, is, as I mentioned before, is very similar to what we started the ART program last year. So take a look at that solicitation, take a look at institutions, 18 institutions that have been funded through that opportunity. So these are institutes where the volume of research is high, but the research translation readiness level is still low, and there is the opportunity to move towards the high RTRL over a period of time. Okay, and then tracks 3, 4, and 5 are really aimed at institutions that have, or organizations that have great experience when it comes to tech transfer, entrepreneurship, and related areas. And you are now looking to see how can you be a resource for other organizations, other institutions, or how can you generate education and training materials, or how could you potentially lead this effort to really coordinate all of these activities. That is the track 5 intent, right? So those are kind of the sum total of what the ART program, Accelerating Research Translation program, is all about. This is a very unique program. We want you to be part of this. So please consider applying. We are happy to answer any questions. Once again, send us an email, which is the email alias of art@nsf.gov. And let me also close by pointing out the importance of taking a careful look at the deadlines, and please submit your proposals on time so that you are not in a difficult position at the last minute. So we wish you, Hina and I, and on behalf of the entire TIP directorate led by Dr. Arvind Gyanchandani, we wish you the very best. And we would be conducting some Q&A sessions. So please stay tuned, and the details of this will be available on the NSF webpage, as well as the TIP Technology Innovation and Partnerships Directorate webpage. So thank you again for joining us. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.